The things you read in the document, and that's something.
Okay, he said that they bombed North Korea and they keep bombing. Okay, this is what they do. They'll bomb you and keep bombing you till there's nothing left, and then they put their shit there. That's why the television station network, that's why they're inside the television station network, because they literally did that to us. And he's the one that breaks down where we're from, Ukraine, where they bombed over and over Ukraine. That's why Putin, you know what I mean? Putin don't want them in Ukraine, and he want the Africans to stay in Ukraine because that's where they're indigenous to, but they don't know that.
Respected by the United Nations in those days, you are terrified. So yeah, lots of, it's okay to make sides, and you support certain ideologies and stuff, but let's keep it simple and to the point. In 1953, the whole city was destroyed. Civilians died for what? For nothing. And then people are asking the question, why today there's so much, the whole thing between North Korea and America, and especially in the popular culture and stuff. Well, if people would actually care to understand, they would understand, probably, if they would make the effort. And this is public information, this is history, okay? Even if you don't study it at school in your history book, it doesn't mean that it's a lie. It's not a lie. In this case, this picture is real, and it shows the facts of what happened in the 1950s.
Okay, now in the 1950s, he's talking about how they, would go in and bomb, and they was bombing civilians, meaning that they were bombing structure buildings, trying to wipe them out
And
to
then
replace
what they
them.
did, and when they constructed then the city again, probably they had help from the Soviet Union, from Russia, because in the 60s and 70s the Soviet Union was the biggest partner. So Russia was the biggest partner of North Korea. But yeah, there's lots of things that normal civilians in America and in Europe and the rest of the world, they don't actually care to understand about. I'll see you guys next time.
When you step into a new
Okay,
day,
so
you're
there's
willing to take on whatever's asked of you.
okay, and then okay, now the Dan Calloway, we saw Dan Calloway. Now here is another one where these are big, huge.
Military projects, for example, but
Okay, you see these? We built all of these big, huge structures. We did that because remember now, they only came here late in the late 1800s, and when they came here, our structures was already here. So they would bomb them so they can replace it. They don't want none of our history here. They want to place it so they can say that they built it and this is theirs. That's why I say to send the poster magazines of the Promised Land to NBC Universal Studios, because NBC Universal Studios in Chicago, California, New York, and in New York and Florida, um, they they bombed those areas. They literally moved us out. And so when you say, well, people might say, well, you can't just move in a television station network. Well, yes, you can, because it's not like they're helping us. It's like they're harming us. They're literally murdering us by them having their television station network only about their agenda, which is about murdering us. So you would be insane to not go to the people that are murdering you. You would be absolutely out of your mind and just a coward to your heart. And you being a coward and and maybe spineless on top of that is your death. You have to get up and literally just do exactly as I say. Just send the poster magazines that I have a link below, and send it to, it's on page 4. It's the emails. We're talking to the people who are the head of, who own Viacom, broadcast, it's broadband, and they own all television station networks. NBC Universal Studios is the one that I'm focused on, that I'm focused on, because they had a problem with Bill Cosby. So, well, now they have a bigger problem. They don't have to worry about Bill Cosby no more. So, because that's mine. That's our the NBC Universal Studio theme park. That's ours. That is where every single promised land will be at. It's patented. I patented in July 9th, 2021. Now, the addresses are not there. I put it to where the addresses will determine on where we were removed from. That's what the patent says. The addresses of the promised land will determine where we were actually removed from. So we were removed from what I said, NBC Universal Studios, in which we're emailing them to let all of the people know to email me. Email me so that you can let me know that I need to, you work work out a space for me to have my own television station network so that I can announce other television station networks that other indigenous black people have to have as well. So the white people who are in the running the television station network right now can still do what they do. You just have to scooch over. That's it. That just scooch over. I mean, you can't hog up everything. That's the whole thing. And when you say no, is how your faith will be, because you don't have a right to say no to me or anybody. You don't have a right to say no to anybody like Larry Hoover. I keep bringing his name up because he's very important. Let me tell you why he's important. Because he's the victim. He's a victim like all of us are. We're all victims. Dan Calloway speaks about every single Negro Nietzsche race of Turtle Island America, because this is what it is, Turtle Island America, are victims of us being invaded. And the invaders have to actually confess and say, yes, you're right here. Let us leave us alone and we will leave you alone. That's what you have to do. So, but I mean, are they going to do that? Let's keep continuing to send the poster magazines because they already have it. And then they send that the senile Biden who says that young children can take crack now, saying to everybody that okay, everybody can take crack now, all the children can take crack, teenagers. It's on national TV. You see what I'm saying? Because they can't say reparations, because real reparations is their death. They can't give you reparations. So that's why it's they have to scooch over, okay, or move out altogether, because reparations is the services that are already up and running. That's real reparations. And it is just to accommodate the indigenous Negro people in their land. 640 acres is to each person. Everyone else will be able to buy their Jetsons. Every other race.
Every great
so
city.
so every white person, Mexican, Chinese, $5 Indian, you can pay for and buy your Jetsons and travel too. But you would be and you would travel and you would wear the badge like we would wear the badge. We would wear the badge of our indigenous badge where we're from, and it would say that just like where you're from. If a white person wear the badge, which they have to, so because we can, tell you show you where you're from, and that if you have any problems here, you got to take that up with your foreign other government where you're from. You're not from here. So whatever problems you have. So if Biden has a problem and he's saying New World Order, he has to apply that to his people over in his country in Helsinki, Russia, and Bulgaria, in the Caucasus Mountains. That's what the badge will say on every single white person. Will say that. And this is actually a great thing because they can actually build their promised land in the Caucasus Mountains where they're from in Russia, because that's where they're from and they should be proud of that. I'm sending the Moors to Italy. This beautiful in Italy. That's where they're indigenous to. You have your own promised land there, and what's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that. You have your own country. Why are you on somebody else's land? You can't. You can't. You have to go back to where you came from. Russia is your big brother. You're from, the $5 Indians to white people, to Mexican people, are bloodline to Mongolia and Russia. Okay, so please look at my video to show you what your diet is. You used to eat live caribou. You would cut their necks and drain the blood and drink it straight. So that's why you have this adrenochrome problem. You like to drink people's blood, and that's fine. You have to do that over there, though. You got to go somewhere else with that. You can't be kidnapping our children. You see what I'm saying? You can't do that. So that means if you were not here prior to 1619, then you're going to have to return back to where you came from. And that's what the badges are for, to, the genealogy promised land certificate badge. And it works just like a credit card or a debit card. And if you're going to go to the store, you swipe it, and everything is free for the indigenous Negro person. Everything is free. But when a white person or a $5 Indian swipes it, they can get that based on their income. That's why this is the greatest thing that could ever be. That's why I was getting letters from the presidents, senators, that this is a great idea, but we can only give you housing. They don't want to help me create the promised land because I have my corporation and I have my business plans all together, and I had it since 2007. I put it in my book. I published my book here and put the business plan in the book with the film trilogy because it comes with the film so that everybody can see how to cross over into the promised land in your own evolution, your own higher evolution on your level. And you will be able to live in the Shia facilities where, well, you can live anywhere, but you will live in the Shia facilities to travel back and forth to the promised land so that foster kids from foster care can come and live in there and don't have to worry about it. Even talent, Hollywood talent actors can come and perform there on their own independent contract. There's no such thing as us telling you how to perform or what to perform. That's on you. That you do you, boo boo. You just schedule the event, and then you can, have all the people to come, and then you do your talent, whether it's singing, acting, basketball, football, whatever it is. And it's your sheer facility that you live in. You can set your own events that you want to set your own talent, your own talent, casting shows or whatever, modeling shows, whatever you want to do. It's up to you. And that way you can eliminate all this Illuminati crazy sacrifice bullshit. Shit, the hell, okay. So what I'm saying is that send out the poster magazines to the television station network that have to email me and say, yes, here is your television station studio network to announce for other people to have theirs and put them in their rightful position where they need to be, because this is not the land of the white people. This is the land of the indigenous Negro people. Okay, so from Alaska, really all over, but we're just going to say Alaska because there are people in Alaska that will have the promised land there too. I have subscribers from Alaska and Canada and South America. So it's not just America. The promised land will be everywhere where you have to be. Okay.
City, as you can see in America and across the world in different continents, contains intricately decorated monumental architecture built at great expense and with great effort. Let's start digging a bit more in this field, and this gave me the interest and the truth that this recurring architecture worldwide wasn't random or mere imitation. These elements all add up to something that involves a structure of power, free energy, that kind of stuff that the controllers of this day and age do not want you to know, or myself.
Okay, about the buildings too. I forgot to tell you, these buildings are made for free energy. I'm talking about energy. I'm talking about pyramids. So all throughout America, we built buildings that gave you free energy. Free. I don't even think we even dealt with gas. I don't even know if we dealt with that, but it was free energy buildings of the Ukraine building here. We created these. When they came, when Putin and them people came, it was already here. So these are old structure buildings that were bombed, and then they duplicated and bombed it over. So these are energy buildings. Like, they give off all of energy, positive energy. That's why when I say when we go to the promised land, the atmosphere will love it. Feels like it loves you, like the whole atmosphere loves you, because the energy, is of us, and it relates to us, to the sun and us, and then you can feel that vibrational energy, and then you can also fly with that too because it deal with sound. When they turn on some sound, you could fly in the neighborhood. It's going. I know it sounds crazy. Like, what you mean fly? Like, literally, you could like take 3 steps and jump up in the air and just started flying because it's based on sound and energy of these buildings that we created
as well. So,
in which that's why the Jetsons, I patent the Jetsons for it to fly, because that's why it's patent. It's not just any RV. It's an RV that flies, and it's also a submarine. so we won't have no flooding problems or anything like that. If it's a flood, it wouldn't affect us in any way. We floating and flying in our homes, just like the Jetsons, because the Jetsons, they took that cartoon and whitewashed that shit and turned it into the Jeffersons, because we're moving on up, and then made him into a laundromat owner. Ain't that a bitch? But what I'm saying is that we had energy buildings that made you
Let's see.
fly.
The drawing, how do you draw electricity from the atmosphere? Could be relatively simple if your city and the design of the buildings was planned with buildings designed to properly attract, collect, and dispense the accumulated current or energy from the atmosphere. And all this stuff is called antiquitech. So antiquitech is the extra official name given to these buildings made specially for attracting energy. Keep in mind, we're not talking about the conventional, today, modern version of wired electricity used to run typical labor saving devices.
Okay, now you remember the Egyptian pyramids? Well, with those pyramids, we also had different structure homes and schools and universities. So the pyramids are there because it's the largest structure, but around that it was nothing but schools and communication buildings and all that.
And you pay money for using that energy. The concept of antiquitech is using architectural form and shape to attract the natural static electrical charge present in the atmosphere to tap into the atmospheric etheric energy. Therefore, we call it AEE, or dark matter, as they call it in the universities today. Very badly called, and a much more subtle force of nature. So at present, science, as I said, they call this dark matter to explain. They're trying to explain it, but they're always keeping us like on the edge of our seats, and they go into all sorts of mumbo jumbo in the jungle stuff, because that's what official scientists do. I do not agree with you, and you're just, it's a pity that we have to live in such a world where everything is such a huge hypocrisy. But that's official science, and that's all the stuff with dark matter, and they do not want to actually say it's free energy out there and we could live a happy life. But yeah, we cannot, we are not allowed because we're sheep. So that's it. So the theory goes that if properly harvested, antiquitech could harness and channel the atmospheric etheric energy into buildings to generate light, regulate temperature, and create an energy field that cures everything and sterilizes all sorts of bacteria and problems in the human body and brain. And to
Did you hear what he said? There's buildings that heals the human body and brain. So we was making buildings. Look at these buildings. Now that's why I patent the Shia facility, because that's a sports dome arena that you live in and you go to school in, and you play and have recreational centers there. Now the Europeans used it as gladiators, blood sport and stuff like that. No, that was there before them. We created that for our children to literally to play, our families to literally see our families play, and we sit there and we see games and stuff like that. It was real. It wasn't about battling blood and all that sports. We had sports, but it wasn't where you to the death and all this lion shit and lions eating the people. That didn't happen.
the idea of how architecture can harness power via atmospheric etheric energy. You can focus on the places of worship, like we call cathedrals, churches, mosques, and synagogues. So the basic strategy of harvesting the atmospheric energy is to build a nice tall tower, or two towers, or more towers, like you see in Russia, topped with aerials, which we call them antennas, let's say so, and made of conductive material fashioned to attract the atmospheric etheric energy charge from the atmospheric static electricity field and channel that stuff into the structure itself. So once you have the antennas, that's the first step. You can have them in different shapes and forms. Second part of the formula to accumulate the atmospheric etheric energy is to place a dome connected to the antenna, underneath the antenna, and then with the connection between that antenna and the dome, you would have the atmospheric energy gathered in the domed collectors on the ceiling, and it can be channeled via long metal rods into the suspended chandeliers to provide heat and light without using fire or gas. And that's the kind of structure that you would have in the so-called ancient.
Okay, because like I said, we're living in square apartments, these square houses, square buildings. Your building is supposed to go up. You know what I'm saying? It's supposed to go up. That's why I created the Shia facility, to where it's a dome. that goes up, and then your homes, it's a triangle. You're gonna be living in a triangle, and it has 3 levels or 4 levels, and but it's going up, and and it's gonna be glass because it's also well, on the bottom it's gonna be glass because on the bottom of the basement is it's a garden. It's a greenhouse garden, air conditioning, purifying water system in your basement that has natural purifying water from your greenhouse. And so all of that air, the dirty air, right? Well, actually, the greenhouse from the basement will have the air conditioning system that will have a certain amount of plants that you see on the freeways. Well, those type of plants eat dirty air. Well, if you have certain plants around your basement going up around the walls, and then air is blown up that way, it will kill any type of virus particles in your home, and you'll have fresh water because the water is purified from it trickling from the rocks and minerals. When you purify your water, it has to go through a lot of purifying rocks and minerals and clay mixture in order for it to clean that water. That clay has to be on the bottom. But anyway, that's how we get fresh water, and it lights in it. And the Shia facility is one big, huge water purifying air conditioning system for the whole entire community. So that, and then your home.
Civilization.
And that's what's patent. That's what I patent on the 4th of July, 2021, which is linked to your Jetsons. I mean, your Jetsons is linked to your Shia because that's where you have to travel to. That's where the promised land is at, and that would be in the NBC Universal Studios theme park. So that will be constructed into that because those are our resources. Those are our resources. And it is not the people's resources that's using it now. So the people that are in there now, that's not theirs. They're actual criminals and they're thieves. And we're telling the thieves personally, you have to literally move over because you're using it against us, right? You're using the resources against us, and you can't do that because it's not your land.
Like the old world order or the old empires before the new world order came along. I have no clue how they managed to, um, or maybe they're just being allowed to do so by other forces. Who knows? So to disseminate and to broadcast the healing atmospheric energy that has accumulated in the building, now you would simply use it via sound. So you could use the acoustical properties, which can be accomplished two ways. You can ring the bells, the church bells, or the, the the place where you're supposed to go and
Oh, and
pray,
yeah, and
right?
then they use it for sound for flying because you could fly from one building to another because the sound somehow makes you fly. Now this is with the Egyptians. They had the dust. This uh uh Delbert Blair said they had this dust, and I saw it piled from sky high. It was this dust that you would probably put in your tea or you drink, and it'll make you fly. Or something like that. It's that Tinkerbell. When they sprinkle that dust, it make you fly. It's the same thing. So when they put things in movies like that, that shit is real. Mermaids, all that shit, that shit's real. You don't have to believe me. I'm just saying that they're putting things in movies because it's real, and then they call it fiction. Okay, so and so they've been making movies lately about the one that's coming, the one that's coming to end all this hypocrisy. Gee, I wonder who that's gonna be. Hmm.
It's something to do with praise. That's just something invented afterwards. So you ring the bells and you project that atmospheric energy throughout the vicinity and the outside, and play the big pipe, or and play the big pipe, of course, organ at the same time to attune and direct the effects for those who are inside the building. So the bells and the organs, the pipe organs, and you're using the acoustic sound properties. So this, for example, in this case,
Now you might say, well, did any white people build any buildings? It's like, well, they had the help of the Moors to build this, and the help of the Egyptians, and the help of us because we built our own structures. So some of them came to watch to watch us build it. But all these structures, these ancient structures that were in the 1700s and 1800s, we built these. We built these structures here, and then they killed us, and then moved in, and then bombed the rest of them that were occupied, and then put their business there. So these buildings may look like European buildings, but they're actually black people buildings. So the White House, black people built the White House. You already know that. And with the pillars and all that, that's us. Because it comes from the Lexar, the Temple of Lexar in the Hatshepsut building in Egypt. Queen Hatshepsut, somebody built a huge tower for her with pillars in it. Okay, well, that's where all the pillars come from us. Rome and all that. That we did that.
They have this is in Guatemala, by the way, but it's like in everywhere in the world you have these type of structures, and you have these urn-looking structures on the corners of the roofs. They're likely chemical batteries that collect and radiate charge. So we have radiation, but this radiation is positive. And inside the cathedral, the acoustics of the pipe organs combined with the choir react with the collected atmospheric energy from the ether to create vibrational resonance that can be used to heal, because the frequency would be an adequate frequency for the human body and soul, or like the energy, because in the end we are energy, right? So that's the way to see things. This whole
Okay.
thing with reincarnation and with like going to the eternal heaven, it's just, and then turns out that these pipe organs are not just found in the places where you're supposed to go to pray, but they're also specifically in mansions and palaces, especially the ones that are still alive or stand.
You was never supposed to be praying. You supposed to be flying. Okay, so when we pray, they were singing the songs and singing. I was thinking that too. That it seemed like these buildings.